Top 10 Acts of Bad Parking Revenge.
Shut up and sit down.
From parking across two spaces to parking in disabled bays, we all know people who think the rules don't apply to them. They believe they can do whatever they want and whenever they want, because no one is going to stop them. But every now and then these parking pigs' flagrant disregard for others goes so far that people snap and declare to the world. By bringing up and saying no more, these heroes do the things we can only dream of, by bringing these parking Karens to justice. Today we count down the top 10 acts of bad parking revenge. Number 10, roof justice. When you see illegal parking, many of us think to ourselves, if only I had the keys to that jerk's car, I'd move it myself. But while you might not have their car keys, what could you do if you had the keys to a forklift truck? The owner of a garage in Qingdao, China, had tried everything to stop people parking outside his garage. He left signs, notes, and called the police, but nothing was working. Sick and tired of his garage doors being blocked by illegally parked cars, he took matters into his own hands and employed the use of a forklift truck. Figuring that they'd like to park there so much, who was he to try to stop them? He lifted both cars onto the roof of the garage. The owner of the garage, who remains unidentified, said that the two vehicles were parked illegally and needed to be moved, and he was just the guy to do it. He added that instead of having them towed, he was kind enough to help them find a new free parking spot on the roof. I'm sure the two drivers were very grateful for the helping hand. Number 9, Vilnius declares war on bad parking. Artūras Zuokas, the mayor of the capital city of Vilnius, Lithuania, was tired of cars illegally parked in his city's cycle lines, so he promised local citizens he'd do something about it, noting that in the past few days, expensive cars have been illegally parked in almost this exact place, a Rolls-Royce, a Ferrari. What should a city do about drivers who are above the law? Zuokas cemented his reputation as a law and order mayor with a novel solution on his war against lousy parking. Taking command of an armored truck, he crushed the offending car like it was a bug under his feet. While many leaders promise to clean up the streets, this guy literally means it. Take a bow, Mayor Zuokas, for keeping the streets clean, and also he can ride through them on his scooter. Number 8, road sweeper delivers street justice. Road sweepers perform a critical duty in keeping our streets clean and clear of obstacles, but with each new day comes new problems, and sometimes one of them snaps and thinks. Disgusted by this driver's trash parking, a government worker doled out some brutal on-street justice by surrounding their car with a maze wheelie bins. Let's hope the inconsiderate parker learned the error of his ways and placed the bins back where they belong, in an orderly fashion. Number 7, Jeep vs BMW. We all know the feeling. You're circling around a crowded parking lot with no spaces, and then you see it. Finally, someone is getting ready to leave. Perfect! So you hang back and give them a little space to turn, and boom! A monster nips into the vacant space you were looking at before you. For most of us, there's not a lot you can do, but this ingenious Jeep owner had other ideas. Powered by his Jeep's towing force and his own desire for vengeance, he got the other car right out of the space and took what was rightfully his all along. Number 6, Post-it vengeance. When someone parks badly, some disgusted citizens like to leave them a post-it to let them know all about it. But these Brazilian comedians took things to a whole new level when they noticed someone illegally parked in a disabled parking bay. The YouTube comedy team Canal Boom decided that parking in a disabled bay was a bridge too far. Instead of leaving one post-it note shaming the illegal parker for his actions, they figured the best way to make their point was covering the entire car in post-it notes. When the driver came back to his car, he was distraught, but instead of sympathy, all he got were laughs and jeers of hundreds of people. Even a nearby policeman didn't seem to care. After kicking up a fuss like a big baby, he finally drove off, embarrassed. You might say, for a driver, the day ended on a real sour note. Number 5, don't mess with the contractor. Frank Sinatra once said, "The best revenge is massive success." So in the case of these contractors, you'd have to say it was mission completed. If you're going to park illegally, it's best not to do it in the space of someone who has the tools and desire to do something about it. The Seattle driver found out the hard way when the contractors put up a no parking sign on the road. They do it for a reason. The enterprising construction workers got creative when they saw a citizen show no respect to the parking sign, and they constructed him a nice little fixed parking spot out of timber and wood. This illegal parker picked the wrong guys to mess with, which goes to show having a smart car doesn't always guarantee an intelligent driver. Number 4, every dog has its day. It's not only humans who have a problem with inconsiderate parking. When he kicked a stray dog for sleeping in his parking spot, a driver in Guangqing, China found out why people say that you should let sleeping dogs lie. After his violent encounter with the owner, the angry canine returned later with a few of his pals, and they set about the man's parked car, exacting some rough justice of their own. The startled neighbor captured these photos of a pack of dogs chewing the hood and body panel and windscreen wipers. They stayed at it for a while and caused the car some real damage. Maybe next time this driver will pause before he thinks of kicking an animal out of his parking spot. Number 3, concrete revenge. Whatever it is they're putting in the water in Russia, there's a good chance they'll mix it with cement to form an act of hard-wearing revenge. When this man's car was blocked by another driver, he expressed his displeasure by breaking in the window with a baseball bat. After that, he pulled off the handbrake and moved the car out of the way. But for most people, that would have been a job done and time to get out of there. But this man wasn't finished. He picked his mobile phone and placed a call to a local contractor who was more than happy to help serve up some liquid revenge by filling the offender's car with wet concrete. With his work finally done, the man left the concrete to set and he drove off into the sunset. It brings a whole new meaning to the term stone cold. Number 2, Saw and Order. They say that revenge is a dish best served cold, and what's colder than a Russian winter? We've all heard of Law and Order, but when this Russian man couldn't take his parking spot because of a car taking up 2 spaces, he clamped down with a little Saw and Order of his own. They say a Lada is an indestructible car, but this disgruntled driver put that to the test. Figuring out exactly how much space was needed for the operation, he went to his boot and found the right tool for the job. Using an angle grinder, this resourceful handyman chopped off the exact portion of the car that had parked crookedly in the second space, leaving just enough room for him to squeeze into the spot. If this guy is prepared to go to these lengths over the parking spot, you'd hate to really see him upset. Honorable mentions. Before we show you number 1, here are some honorable mentions. No one likes to have their parking space stolen, but people will go to extraordinary lengths to make sure they're not hustled out of their spot, like this ingenious driver. In what might be some of the worst parking you'll ever see, this car was boxed in by a savvy bus driver who had potentially had enough of bad parking over the years. I'd like to see that driver figure a way out of that one. And this guy probably takes the award for the most inconsiderate parking ever. Landing a helicopter is no mean feat. So when the pilots were getting ready to set down, they must have been surprised to see someone parked casually in their spot. Number 1, break glass in case of emergency. If you live on a crowded street, taking a free space in front of a fire hydrant might seem like a great idea, but trust us, it's not. As many have found to their cost, water takes the least path of resistance, when even it means it's straight through your car. Recently, a New York City BMW driver learned this lesson the hard way, with firefighters attending to a nearby blaze in the Bronx. His car was parked right in front of the hydrant, so the firefighters did what they had to do, and smashed his driver and window passengers. For those of you wondering why they didn't go over the hood, doing that would have left a kink that might affect the power and flow of the water, so the only way through was the straightest route, much to the heartbreak of the angry driver. That's one driver who will probably shudder every time he hears the phrase, break glass in case of emergency. Do you agree with our list? Be sure to comment below and tell us your favorite act of parking revenge. And thanks for watching.